Hello, my name is Nathan Barnes, and this is my task review for the individual assessment. I'm going to be starting off with the 10 original tasks I had and then move into the later ones that I added in as I needed to. So to start off here, we have the player health system, which is, as the player, I want to know how much health I have left. The health system will include a health bar in the UI, code to easily add and remove health from the player, and the health system will also alert the game when the player reaches 0 health, so the game can end, and the player's default HP will be 100. So to quickly run through the subtasks, these are just basically all the parts here that we mentioned. So we have the health bar UI that will show the amount of health the player has remaining and will update accordingly whenever they take or damage or heal. The add health function will act as the central source for the way for the player to have their health increase, and it will also be robust enough so it can be have multiple ways to be interacted with in the future. So that way it's not linked to just one system. The remove health function will be pretty much the exact same, where the player will have their health removed from a central source, so that way it can also be robust enough to work with future additions to the game. And then a health gained and lost pop-up that will appear whenever the player gains or loses health, which will appear underneath the health bar UI. This is basically just to show better information to the player of what is happening, why they're losing health, and how much. And the way it'll work with the healing is that if the player is only missing 1 HP, but they pick up a potion that healed them by 10, it will only show that 1 health was healed, because that's all that really was healed. Because another thing with the add health is that it won't overflow. There's no overhealing in this game. To briefly go into these tasks, because they are also very closely linked, the health potions, which is as the player, I want to pick up health potions to heal myself. Enemies will randomly drop health potions upon being defeated. If the player walks onto one of these health potions, their health will be increased. If any was missing, health will be kept at the max health cap and not overflow. The subtasks for this, real quickly, are just the base pickup, which is not in the final game itself, but is just the parent class for all future pickups. And then create potion variants, which is I want the enemies to drop different potions. The examples I gave here aren't what ended up in the final game. The small health potion heals by 10, the normal heals by 15, and the large heals by 25, just because I wanted to lower those values a bit. So with that, I believe that is all I will show for this first demonstration. Actually, I can throw in the enemy attacks in here, because this also functions there. Which is, as the player, I want the various enemies to attack me, and I want the melee type enemies to only attack me in melee range, and I want the ranged enemies to try shooting me from range, but hit me when they get close. And then enemy attacks will not hurt other enemies. So we will go on and launch the spell Slinger's shipping build, which is the same one that I submitted for the refinement build, but I renamed that one to better fit the naming convention for the assignment. For myself, real quickly, I'm just going to go into options. Oh, nice, this saved over. So we are going to start the game. So we can see in the top left, I have the health bar UI that is there. So that is showing the health that I currently have. I'll let this guy hit me, which is showing the melee enemy attacks. And we can also see the -1s popping up underneath the health bar as it is going down from all these punches that I'm taking. I will then now start clearing these guys out of the way to start getting some of the health potions to hopefully spawn. So this is a medium health potion, so this should heal me 15. Yes. So we will get some more health potions hopefully from these guys to drop. There is the large health potion, so this one should heal me by 25. So I'm going to step into it and see that it healed me 25 there for a second. Then this one should heal me by 10, because that is the small one. We can see the ranged enemy attacks. They're shooting me at range, but if I get close, they will also just normally hit me and start dealing 5 damage apiece. So I will just let them kill me to show the death function. I only left 3 enemies remaining here, so not very many. Alright, so the game ended. So that is all the health functionality working. To go back to the design for the scoring system here, which will be the next thing to show off. As the player, I want to score points as another way to see how well I'm doing in the game. Score system will keep track of certain events, such as defeating enemies, to add points to the total score, and the score will be a way for the players to basically check from their various runs how well they did. So the enemies, I want them to reward the player with points as a subtask, and I want them to have different points depending on which enemy it is. The score UI element, I want to be able to be seen while you're playing in the HUD, and I also want it to go front and center on the end screen. For the let's see, the player wants to gain score depending on which wave has been defeated by them. I changed this math slightly so that the score will be the current wave number times 200 to better reflect the amount of time they're putting into it. And a score pop-up in the world, that is basically when enemies are defeated, it will spawn a text actor that'll basically just show how many points that enemy was worth. So we'll quickly get into that. So we can see at the top middle, I have the score currently set at 0 because we haven't gained any score yet. And then we will quickly start the wave. And by killing these enemies, we'll see that little 50 pops up because they are worth 50 points. And we can see that the score UI is being updated accordingly. So we are at 700 points because we killed 10 enemies, each worth 50, and then we gained 200 extra points from defeating the entire wave. I will quickly defeat this wave, or the majority of it. Yeah, we'll defeat the entire wave real quick. Let's see. We have 5 enemies left, and I'm willing to bet most of those are ranged. They like to hide, it seems. Here they are. There's one more left after this I have to find. So we can see we are at 1,850 points. Here's the last enemy. And killing her will give us the extra 400 as well as her 100. So then next I'm going to allow these enemies to kill me, so that way we can see the final score on the end screen. So we'll just let all these little guys punch me a lot. They have to punch me 100 times to kill me, but go through this, and my game is over, and I'm at 2,350 score, which is accurate between both. So that is the scoring system. And the remaining tasks are ones I picked up over time. Technically, enemy attacks and health was also picked up. The enemy health is a fairly easy system that I've already somewhat showed, but is basically, as the player, I want to be able to damage and kill the enemies, and upon their death, they'll destroy themselves, but we'll be seeing that with the next section, which is the spell bullets, which took me the longest time to add. So as the player, I want to shoot spells out of my revolver. I want the spells to have different abilities and cause different effects. Spells should trigger whether they hit an enemy or a wall. Spells act as the player's main source of damage. The spell base subtask is basically just creating the main parent class that all spells will be children of, with a use spell custom event that will be triggered to have each of the spells do their custom things. I accidentally skipped electric, but the water spell, basically, the way it functions is you shoot it once, and it'll create 2 additional bullets without taking ammo from your magazine, dealing 4 damage per bullet. The electric spell will, whenever it hits anything, it'll deal 3 damage to the enemy it hit, if it hit one, but even if it hits the ground, it'll have an AoE area where it does 3 damage to everything around it. The fire spell will do an initial damage of 4, but then deal an additional 6 damage over the course of 3 seconds as a bit of a tick damage. The ice spell will freeze enemies and set their speed to 0.25, only dealing 2 damage upon impact, because it is more utility based. And the earth spell will deal 5 damage for the bullet hitting an enemy, but then will deal an additional 5 damage from the rock it summons shooting up from the ground. So to quickly show off these tasks, the spells, and the enemy health, we'll go back into the game. Quickly grab all my revolvers again. We'll go on and spawn the wave a bit early this time. So we'll start with the electric spell to clear out this horde. So it'll deal initial damage, and if I keep shooting that one guy, he died earlier. But we can see I'm dealing damage to the AoE area, and I can shoot the ground or the enemies for it to trigger. Next up, we'll show the fire spell, which these enemies have 10 health, and it does 10 damage over time. So one shot of this bullet is enough to kill the small ones. The ice spell, we'll quickly use this to freeze him up, to slow him down. Um, so that also lasts for 3 seconds. And then the water spell shoots a set of 3 bullets. And we can see the other enemies in the back have more health. Then the rock spell will shoot a rock. And this rock is also a physical object that the player cannot run through. So I believe that is all of the tasks that I have to show. So thank you very much for your time. Oh yes, one more thing I forgot to mention. I completed 22 tasks throughout the entire course, so these were my 22 that I completed during this game jam. So thank you very much for your time for real this time.
Hello, my name is Shamel Middleton, and I'll be walking you through my ClickUp task and my contributions for this project. At first, I only had 7 ClickUp tasks that were accepted and approved. I added the time dilation, the materials and feedback asset creation and implementation, and the level design later on because they were needed. First, you're going to see I'm going to walk you through my enemy AI, which actually did not take me as long as I thought it would. For this, I had to create a basic behavior tree, a blackboard, the enemy blueprint as well, the AI controller, and then custom behavior trees and behavior tasks and decorators for situations such as wait, attack, chase the player, and when they decided that AI decided to do these. I created the game menu. I did the quit game, the credits, and the options. The controls was handled by someone else. This is an early screenshot of the way it looked in the beginning. It changed as time went by. I did the credits page as well as I just meant it part of the main menu. The enemy was another one that took a while for me. Created the enemy base, added the perception stimuli. We didn't get to retarget animations yet because we haven't received the final art assets. So I didn't create the blend space also, but we did create the enemy variants. I got that done. As of now, we have the BP enemy base. We have the shorter enemy, which is going to either be a goblin or a pumpkin. And then we have the witch that's self-explanatory, going to be a witch. Game lose screen. We were going to have a game win screen, but since our game ended up being a survival game, the game lose screen now holds the data that was supposed to be represented on the game win screen. That's another reason why I ended up with 9 instead of 10. Time dilation. I created an asset like a watch and added it to the game so it could be there for the pickup. Later on, it was decided that it was going to be used as a pickup on the board, and then we assigned it as an enemy drop. This is the beginning of the freeze spell as well. And then material and feedback assets creation and implementation. This wasn't approved, but it was one that I did because I wanted to be a part of level design, and I neglected to mention that and to sign up for it when the team was giving out authority. I created custom materials for the spells. I made more. This says 21 right now, but I made more than 25 materials in 3 Niagara systems to support the feedback visually for the spells and their attributes. And then level design, several meshes. I made a saloon and a starting area for the character to be in and all the things that entails. Okay, so let's get started. Open this project. And I'll walk you through what I'm responsible for. Okay, welcome to our game. It's called Spell Slingers. What I was looking at for the rubric, it said that you had to have a picture behind the main menu, but I wanted to do something a little bit more live, so I actually have a camera that's placed inside a level that I created for the main menu. So I can do this little scrolling thing where I have the sun goes by and it becomes nighttime. I'm going to let that go by, and I'm going to show you the other things that I'm responsible for at the moment. The credits I did, just notice that's a little off center. I can fix that for the polishing later on. Nathan Barnes, that's our vision holder. He's a good leader right now. He's keeping everybody together, keeping us on schedule, which is more important. System design and sound design is a very big thing that I'm very proud of in this. The options menu has the slider as necessary. You can turn the volume up and down. Hit apply. Controls was created by somebody else. The button works. How to play was also created by someone else, but I'll demonstrate that the button works. And Spellbringers, you battle through endless waves of enemies using a set of powerful spell guns. And as you can see now, it's nighttime. And this is my main menu map. Okay. This is part of my level design assets from the ClickUp. The saloon. I created all the assets necessary for this saloon and put it together myself inside the level. These are the weapons that we have available for you, and behind them I put previews so that you can see what they do before you use them. Fire does chip damage over time. I created a UI and added it to here so you can see how this pops up. It was nothing complicated. Same for this. Now you see the ice spell. It's the utility spell, slow down enemies by freezing. This is the water spell, the rock spell, and the electricity spell. This is the UI that I put together for it. Brief explanation. I think it does a good job. Also, you probably can't hear it right now because of my microphone, but I added audio for picking up the weapons as well. And there's music playing in the background. We switched it now so that you can press E to start the level. I'm not responsible for that though, so let me stop. Level assets that I created are these barrels, this saloon, and these banisters. I'm also responsible for this nuke. I can't show you the coding, of course, because we're in a build, but it performs like the nuke from Call of Duty. I'll display that on the enemies that I created in a minute. I'll be pressing E now for the enemies to come. As you can see, we decided to make the enemies very fast, just to keep it a little bit challenging. As you can see with the weapons, this is the Earth one. I decided to choose a yellow tone. Later on in the refinement build, I'll add a rock. Wave. Up, hit the nuke by accident, and now everybody's gone. Yellow, as you can see, this is for the rock. Ice. Begin. You can hear him saying freeze right now, but if you try it out yourself, you'll see it. You're catching up to me now. You can see the color change and the material placed over them. This is like kind of like dark matter from Call of Duty. I created this texture as well and this effect. I'm not responsible for the spell, but I'm responsible for the effects. Here's the water. You can't hear the sound effects. I'm very proud of those. Fire. Back to this. I'm also responsible for a time dilation drop. It's part of the enemy pool drop. Next wave. Hopefully we get one soon, so I can display that to you. And this exploding barrel as well. I coded this exploding barrel, but we don't have an animation yet. Didn't want to create it until we got the final asset, player asset. trying to play it out until we get the remaining thing that I'm responsible for. Okay, I died. I also made this as well, so I guess that pans out. Um, thing that took me the most time was probably creating the materials and the assets that I did, placing them on the board, iterating, communicating with the rest of the team, making sure that we all um, not removing anybody's work from the blueprints. And I guess that'll be all for me. Thank you for taking your time and listen. Um, play the game if you get a chance to. You can't hear the audio that I implemented in the game. It's a very big part of something that took a lot of time for me, and I would appreciate it if you could do that. Thank you. Have a good night.
Hi, my name is Adriana Flamia, and this is my portion of the video for the individual assessment. For this project, I was responsible for designing and implementing the wave system. So we'll head into ClickUp. I already have the two tests here, but here are both of them in the completed tab. So we'll first jump into the wave system. There was a whole lot that went into the wave system, coding wise, that unfortunately I won't be able to show it in this video as it is just gameplay. But when creating the wave system, we did need to start with just a basic general spawn point, because within the wave system that is housed in the game blueprint, we have to get each of the spawners, knowing where they are, things like that. So in game, obviously, it is invisible, and on the game map, there are 6 different points that the enemies can spawn from randomly. The spawn points were placed in the map. Obviously, they are behind buildings, so hopefully, when the player is running around, they won't really see them spawning in. But we will load up the game now. I will show you a little bit. So there is one place back here, back here, back here, back here. I tried to place them behind the buildings, like I said, so that the player won't see them spawning in really, especially when they come out of the starting area, which I will show them spawning in, but I do just for a second want to head back to the ClickUp for the wave HUD. So in the wave number HUD here, that is essential just to give the player that forward-facing information about which wave they're on, how many enemies there are left to kill, and how much time they have in between rounds to prepare for the next. And there is a timer that does go off at the end of a round when the last enemy is killed, which I will showcase, I promise. In addition to these two subtasks, yesterday the team and we agreed that there needs to be a initial button press for the player that allows them to start that first wave. That's because when you spawn in, prior to this edition, when you spawn in, you're in the saloon. If you're looking at weapons and everything, there's enemies that are hounding the door, and it can get very, very, very annoying as a player to deal with that. So clearly, you don't want to hound the player immediately off the gate. Let's see. So here is that subtask for press E to start wave. I wrote down that the player needs time to prepare themselves for the upcoming waves when spawning in. They don't want to be overwhelmed by enemies as soon as they walk out the spawn doors. Giving them this ability, the player gains agency on when they feel they are ready to begin. On right off game start, the press E to start wave is displayed within the wave system HUD as a just text. Once E is pressed, it does disappear and it will begin the round. This is only for the first wave. The following waves start once that transition timer has ended. I also did submit this into the ClickUp task list assignment just for approval, because I wasn't too sure if I was just allowed to add this willy-nilly like late in this game. But I did submit it just in case. So here it is. It's submitted, I promise. And so, okay, we will go right back into the game. And we will... Of course, I come back in and it's dark. That's fine. I restarted the game just to make sure that you could see them spawning in and everything. So I'm going to just grab a weapon quick. Head back out. And I'm going to head back here just so you can see them spawning in. So once you press E, that wave number does start up. It says wave number 1, enemies remaining 10. So let's kill a few. And it's going down. Got 2 left. 1 left.
Next wave.
And that new wave beginning is on a 5-second timer. So I'm going to close it out just because I want to head into some other stuff on ClickUp. Again, with that wave transition timer, it is set to 5 seconds. During this time, no enemies spawn in. It just gives the player a little bit of reprieve before the next round, gives them some time to prepare. If they want to relocate, if there's any pickups on the ground, it just gives them time to get all that in order. So in the wave system ClickUp, we do have subtasks for enemy types in the rounds. Right now, we only have 2 enemy types, so rounds 2 through 10 are a combination of the 2 types. When we do get more enemies added in, it's super easy to just restructure the data table, which I will go into, for each round and, add them in, set their spawn counts for each round, things like that. The number of said enemies spawned in does increase with each round. However, just to challenge the player, the types and numbers of each enemy spawned in, it's controlled by the wave count data table, which is another thing, unfortunately, I can't show you because this is the build. But I'd be more than happy to, on the side, if you ask to see it, I'd be more than happy to provide that information for you. The types and numbers, again, are controlled by this data table and the data struct. With that said, though, we do have generating endless enemy waves. This is done within a function that is found in the game mode blueprint. It's in a function called build enemy pool. So when it can't find the associated row within the wave pool data table, it does build a pool algorithmically. And if I'm remembering correctly, it does multiply the wave number by 5, and it gets a random integer within a range with the minimum for, say, the basic enemy, the pumpkin or goblin, whichever we decided to go with, being 45. So it won't spawn less than 45. 45 is the cutoff. So with all that, we will head into the game now. I'll play a few rounds, and then I will cut to when we hit round 11. And I am going to restart the game up because I did, close it out. So just when we're on round 3, I should mention that I did make it so that enemies on screen wouldn't exceed, I believe, 20. That was just more so to help with the rate of spawn, and to not really overwhelm the player as much. It's going to get overwhelming, I think, no matter what, because as you kill them, there'll be more running in. But I do think it really did help with the spawn rate, especially since we added in more spawners aside from the 2 that originally was seen. All right, so we are nearing the end of wave 10. There's only 5 enemies left. Round 11 is when the waves generate algorithmically for enemy spawns, things like that. So let me clean all this up and you'll see it.
Next wave. Begin.
All right, so round 11, just 100 enemies spawned in. And again, this is not on the data table at all. This is purely generated through code. And I mean, really, this whole thing is endless because I never gave it an end. The only end is if you die. Yeah, so that is the wave spawner, wave system, plus the wave HUD. Thank you.
Hey, Malcolm here, and today I will be going over my ClickUp tasks for our game Spell Slingers. So first, I had to create a controls page, and doing that will give the player, text and dialogue saying what keys do what in the game. So I had to create the controls page UI widget. Also had to add a navigations button to access the controls page. And then I had to add an exit button to return. And here was an early image of what it was going to look like for the initial controls page, but I also created a how to play screen. And then next, when we get into the game, I had to create a game pause menu. So this pause menu pauses the game while you're in there. And inside of this menu, we'll have an options button and a main menu button. So I had to create the pause menu widget, and then I binded it to the 2 key to stop the game. And also, while we're in the game, we can go over the spell selection that I implemented. As the player, I want to switch between different spell bullets so I can choose the best ability for the situation. Scrolling the mouse wheel will cycle through the available spell types. When the player changes spells, the currently selected bullet type will update in both the UI and the weapon. Each spell will have its own damage and effect. So first I had to detect the mouse wheel and make that so that the blueprint can tell when we're actually scrolling. And when you cycle back and forth, it switches out the spell. Then this is basically so that we don't overlap while scrolling. And then created a spell changed event that UI and gameplay can read. So basically when you scroll, it'll say which weapon that you're holding or spell. And then I had to be able to shoot the projectile of selected spells. So whenever you see that the gun looks a certain way, it should shoot that certain effect. So going into the game here. Alright, so quickly showing the controls page. It's in the options menu here. In here, you have your walk, look, shoot, swap spells, and your dash. When we get into the game,
Get some.
you can press 2, and the game pauses, and you have your options menu and your button to go back to the main menu, which we can press. And it goes back to the main menu. And then
Get some.
can press the options, and the options pops up. And to unpause. And then going over the spell selection, we have our different spells here. So if we pick up you can tell which weapon we have selected. And then when we scroll the mouse wheel, a short delay for weapon swap speed, and you have your different weapon, and it's updating the different types of weapons. And it's shooting the different bullets as well. Thanks.
Hi, how are you doing? My name is Joel Williams, and I'll be showing you my individual assessment for my project and project and portfolio. So as you can see, I only have 5 tasks done out of, and I have 4 more left. So I will explain at the end of the video why I couldn't get those in. But for the moment, I will be showing you my current task that I have done. So the first one I'm going to be showing you is the dash movement, and then I said I would like to create a dash movement system that allows the player to quickly evade attacks or to close the distance during the gameplay by pressing the shift key. I will currently be showing you the practice area where I wanted the players to practice their shooting and all their combos and combat and all the guns that they could practice with. By creating fight damage to make all the game bullets available and making a big enough area for the players to practice. I want to make a extra life perk. I wanted to create a perk that gives the player an extra life in the game. I want this perk to activate automatically when the player dies, allowing them to respawn and continue their run without losing progress. I want to give the player also ultimate abilities, and they get to unlock it after reaching a certain amount of kills, which gives them temporary boost. And I changed the ultimate abilities from some different from the description. And lastly, I want to create the shop system in the game for when players die or before they die. When they start in the area, they could buy they could see the options for what they can have, and I will be showing you my build right here.
Get some.
See, the everything is working. I will get the gun right now. But first, I'll show off the dash mechanic. There you go. As you can see, he's dashing. Then I will show off my extra life perk. Just, it's gonna take a little bit because it's gonna do not much damage. Sorry, just give a little bit of time. And as you can see, this game over screen, but if the player just clicks use extra life, they will be spawned in here. They'll get to continue where they are.
Got a nuke.
Go. You see, they were all just gathered around where I died. Just go back in here. Nope, cannot go back in here. Move. Oh wow. Just give me one second on my other task. Okay, my ultimate ability. Hey, I will show you my ultimate ability. I'll just get out. Start. Just restart.
Get some.
Get a gun.
Kid.
Ultimate ability. Want to, make the enemies not moving and not hit me, but you also are being circled around and also cannot move. So it gives you like a sense of, peace and quiet. But this time you have to be
Next
careful
wave.
because, it could also be not the best for you. Trying to, there you go. And I'll also show you the practice area. Let's see, where it has all the games available, guns, and then you can practice on it. And,
Next wave.
that, boom,
Begin
boom,
burn.
boom, practice like that. So for practice area, and lastly, I'll be showing you
Get
my
some.
shop system. And you gotta press F. So you can see I had to work my shop system, but couldn't really get it fully working because it was cut from the game, just like everything else. Now, as you can see, I showed you the shop system, the ultimate ability, the life perk, and the practice area with the dash movement. I could not implement the enemies weakness or resistances because I really didn't have enough time to get it really working well, either for the combo spell bullets. And because I was working on these and the rest of these, I didn't really have enough time for this. And then this also got cut, so I couldn't really work on it. So thank you for watching my video, and you have a
Okay.
great rest of your day.
Hello. I'm gonna show you my ClickUp tasks, going through all of them, and then show you a visual presentation of how these tasks ended up in our Unreal project. So for background landscape, I wanted to add like a background landscape to give players a sense of the level setting. This landscape could be designed, for example, as a dark desert to block off areas beyond the level. It will help convey the world's design and create a feeling of immersion and innovation. Sorry if you hear some of the noises I did, but if you did hear them, but make the sky go dark. I would darken the sky slightly to match the dark fantasy western shooter aesthetic of the level, meaning that the setting wouldn't be during daytime. It would be keeping the mood consistent. The level won't be completely dark, but it will probably maintain the dim, atmospheric lighting typical of survival horror games. Now, I actually I didn't do this part, unfortunately, but someone else actually ended up doing it. Um, but in a way where it can still go on daytime, but it could also go on nighttime very often. So the environmental props, I wanted to add some of them to enhance the level's details and help players understand its contents. These props will communicate the setting and context of the level overall. They will reinforce the world design and immerse players in the environment. Some good examples are like rocks and cactuses that I ended up adding. Um, Let me see. Lay out the main level. This was my main task that I had to mostly focus on because I was a level designer in this project. Um, as the primary task in my role as a level designer, I had to lay out the main level. I will focus on key points such as the start focal point and the end of the level. The level will be populated with assets modeled by our team of artists to complete the environment, meaning there are artists in my team that modeled assets. Additional levels I couldn't end up doing it, unfortunately, but I wish I ended up doing them to encourage players to keep playing. And while it was not guaranteed we'll implement them, the team brainstormed this as a possibility of the time allows after completing the main levels. Overall, these extra levels would provide ongoing engagement and replay value beyond the main story. The start and ending point. I wanted to add a starting point where the player spawns where they press start when they press start. Sorry, and the ending point where the level concludes. The starting location ensures players begin in the correct area, setting up the level experience. The ending location marks the final section of the level, providing a clear completion point. Now, the ending point, I actually thought I was gonna do it kind of like how in Mario where you jump on the flag and then the level is over. That I'm pretty sure that's not what ended up happening. So the starting point, we ended up adding one, of course, right? Obviously I used the player start to like put it where they spawn, but then someone thought of the idea of like having the player spawn inside of a saloon, and I was like, all right, I'm not mad at that. So I was okay with it, and I approved that idea. Some visual guidances, I didn't add them in the way I thought I was going to, but I wanted to combine props and lighting to create a cohesive visual language that communicates where the player should go next. This prevents players from getting lost in complex areas. While keeping exploration engaging, the goal is to guide naturally without breaking immersion. So let me go to basic lighting. Now, the player has a flashlight already. When they press start, especially when it goes dark, you can see it. But I did add a light that in one of the buildings to show like how it looks and like the entrance and all that. Because I mean the colors were too dark, and I guess with the lighting of the game it was just too hard. It was hard to see. So lighting will be used to naturally guide the player, especially toward exits or key points of interest. It will also help reveal surrounding details in darker sections of the environment, which is pretty much what I did. Because the game features a dark fantasy setting, this lighting guidance will likely appear frequently throughout the level. Which I guess I kind of did that, but yeah. The object prop guidance. Actually, I only ended up adding like, going back to this, I apologize. I ended up adding like one lighting, which was in only one of the buildings, but the player already has a flashlight, so I'm assuming this does count, but if it doesn't, then I apologize. On the main level, environmental objects should be used in is visual direction cues for the player. Elements such as arrow, signs, fallen trees, or aligned rocks can subtly guide the player toward the intended path. These objects will serve as a consistent color-coded language to reinforce where the player needs to go. This, unfortunately, I didn't end up adding it in the way I thought I was going to. I just ended up putting the props like how I described in the environmental props task. And then finally, I couldn't add optional side paths, but I could have added some of them to give the player the choice to explore additional areas, meaning that these paths should be designed so players have a clear reason to take them, such as finding loot, health pickups, or other rewards. Including side paths will make the game more engaging by encouraging exploration beyond the main route. So, some of these tasks, like this one and this one, you know what I'm gonna do? I'm gonna put this one in progress. But yeah. Some of the parts I definitely did. Some of them I guess I wasn't completely done, but some of them I just couldn't end up adding it, like, especially the ones that were could have. But again, the basic lighting is the one that I kind of question because the player already has a flashlight. So, but in the way I expected it to be, I don't think I have that, but I think I ended up having one, but I'll just put complete, and if it doesn't count, then just let me know. Let me just go ahead and open up the oops. Let me open up the project real quick. Oh, wait a minute. There you go. Just to show what I basically did. Alright, is this
Smells.
All right, so that's oh god, it's glitching. Oh, there you go. Originally, this was not my starting point, but that's what someone else had the idea and then ended up doing this. Let me press start. These buildings that you see right here, I did them, but some of them were updated, like this one. Originally, that's not how it looked like, but someone ended up updating it by adding this symbol of dimensional saloon. As you can see, there's oh, let me go back. The basic lighting. Oops. Wait a minute. Sorry about that. This is one of the lightings that I ended up adding because this was too dark, like especially on daytime. And you see that the sky goes dark right now, which I didn't end up doing, and then it goes back up on daytime. So these landscapes that I ended up adding, as you can see, like these mountains and stuff, I did that. So some of the environmental props, I didn't design them, but I put them in here, like the cactus, and I put this one, I put another one right here, like this one. I put some rocks in there with the cactus in there, and some of the props were not placed by me, but I did put some of them in here. So let me lower down the volume for a second. And the entire, basically, like the entire level, right? Like the buildings and stuff, were all pretty much done by, me. But some people made some updates to them from how it was originally designed as, but I was very proud of how it ended up like. And so that was literally me. And that's about it.